Welcome to episode 23 of Synchronicity. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry and tuning in to the mind of Mercury for a very special podcast today. A very special podcast where I hope I can bring the same energy, because I just recorded 1 hour, 1.5 hours of just straight gold, straight big fire bars for all of us to level up from. And because the technology that I am limited to using in this white supremacist timeline is primarily focused on projecting into my space so it can make money off of me, not actually functioning as advertised, my phone failed. My equipment failed. So I lost all of that. Now I'm angry. I'm very upset. If there's one thing that I hate to waste as Tahuti Trismegistus, as Symmetry, as Chase Clarence Calloway, as myself, as just who I am, it's not money, it's not energy, it is not material, it is truly time. I despise wasting time. If there's anything that I cannot stand wasting, it is time. That's why standing is healthier than sitting. Because once you're sitting, you're waiting. And waiting is wasting time. So, the first recording was really fun. Now you're getting like heated Tahuti. Heated Hermes. Hot Hermes, heated Tahuti. I'm just, my fire is blazing right now. As I simmer my trees, I suppose I'll cool down. But also, I'm just really angry because I shared a lot of very awesome information, a lot of very awesome wisdom that I will try to hit the points of again. I'm going to try to not miss any points because I organically did the first one really awesome. Like the intro for the first recording of this podcast was way better than the standard one. And now I forgot what that is. So you get the standard one, and actually you get a worse one. You get this one. You get an intro of me explaining how I'm upset that the first awesome recording of this podcast is gone. So, hey, I could be here putting on a show. If I viewed this more like a show, I would act like I did not lose the footage. And I would put on a smile and put on the vibration of, hey, this is our first time doing it. Every time is the first time. But because I'm actually in my water element with you, because I'm actually focused on being symmetry, and symmetry is about water, all right? Hermes is about fire. But when symmetry is when Hermes is being his superhero self, he becomes symmetry. So my superhero self would like to ground and level with you and let you know where I'm coming from. And that involves me communicating Hermes through water. So I can only communicate my fire through water, which looks like air. And then that's the point of symmetry being water, Hermes being the fire. All of it is me as a spirit communicating my mind externally. Tahuti is my earth. So Tahuti, or as white people call him, Thoth, that's how I stabilize my mind and stabilize my ability to project fire into the reflective water. Man, it's whatever. So this podcast is already kind of off the rails. Like I had a way better flow. Oh my gosh, I had a way better flow the first podcast, and here we are. We'll start here. Flow. That is what this podcast is about. It wasn't even originally about flow, but now it is about flow because I am making it so. Originally, this podcast, being number 23, was going to primarily be about W. Now, in the first podcast, I organically, it was very fun, looked up how the letter W when we're thinking about the letter W, we think about water and wetness. And it's interesting then that wisdom starts with W. So, again, it was very fun in the first episode of me going through like, okay, who, what, when, where, why. Who, what, when, where, and why. These are the 5 W's. And then I spent time. It's annoying because I'm not trying to fake it. Like, I could replicate it, but no. The thing is gone. Like, I lost the hour and a half of me organically flowing. So now I have to, like, refer to that and be way more, not nearly as flowy. Like, you see this? This isn't whack. This is whack. Like, the first recording was so awesome and so good, and it's gone. Like, everything organically happened. I organically went through how I realized. Because I didn't realize this coming in, and I'm not trying to fake it for you. I don't want to fake things for you or anyone. So I'm not going to act like I'm realizing here and looking it up like it's fun. In the first podcast, the first recording of this episode, it was fun and organic of me realizing that W, when we think about W, we think about the questions of W. And that would be where, when, why, who, and what. So W, water, is all about literally the double U. There's you as an individual, and then there's the W, which is the entire universe. And you as an individual are not alone in the universe, but you do feel alone inside of your own space. So this is proof enough that you are your own God. You are an individual God creating your circumstances, and the only way your circumstances can be relatable is if you connect them to the universe. And that is the cosmic W. So when we ask W, when we ask literally the W, where are we? Who are we? What are we? When are we? Why are we? There's 5 W's. And then I already looked it up in the first episode, or first recording of this. I'm so angry right now. I looked it up in the first recording of this, and, or like all over Google, there's 5 W's. So getting into it, it was really fun seeing like, oh, wow. See, like now I'm like, act like I'm happy. Like I would literally have to pretend. I'm not good at pretending. So I would literally have to pretend like I'm looking it up to like keep the same vibe. But no, the vibe it's gone. It's washed away. Now it's a new vibe. You get angry Tahuti. And I'm just more passionate about how whack this technology is. Like it just gets to fail and get rid of everything that I built. So now you don't get all the natural organic wisdom that I put out for you because this technology consumed it. Because the people who created it are so consumptive that they want to consume my attention by making me forcibly put my mind into something that can't even hold it. It's insane. So looking it up, like when I go onto Google right now, I had to make sure that there were just 5 W questions. Because if there are, then that's very synchronistic. The fact that we are in the 23rd episode, and in general, 23 is about W. That's what we're talking about. But then I just realized in this podcast, in the recording, in this waking hour, in the last recording, but in this waking hour, just realized today that the 5 W's are literally the spiritual no coincidence that's meant to reflect how we as spirits, we as individual yous coming together to create the W, create physical reality. We create physical reality. We create 5 cycle reality so that we can connect with one another. And thus the answer to who, what, when, where, and why is going to be phi. It's going to be 5. It's going to be physical reality. And in general, the energy of 5 is actually death. So this is the wisdom of 5, is knowing that we as spirits are creating physical reality so that we can find our family, find family with the 5 in physical reality, in 5 cycle reality. Spirits find families in 5 cycle reality with the 5. So that's why your hand has 5 fingers, because we're literally manipulating light so that we can feel understood with other spirits. That's why we're all men. We're all humans. So you as a spirit, being a mind, communicating yourself into reality, you are a hue. That is the human. You are colorful, infinitely colorful. This is why there's no white or black in the universe. You can't look outside and see whiteness and blackness. You're not going to be able to look at a tree or look at a river or look at anything that exists within nature and find anything that's purely white or purely black. If you look close enough, you're going to find other colors, and you're going to see that actually everything is a modge podge of colors. Like, there's no such thing as white or black in nature. So then this is where we kind of have to wonder, what's up with race then? Like, why are we defining ourselves and talking about race and talking about each other in terms of white and black? And as Tahuti Trismegistus, I'll tell you right now, it's because of this English language, and because the Freemasons who made this English language are obsessed with turning life black and white and turning life polarized, because the spirit itself is polarized before it communicates life. And this is the wisdom of 1 and 2. So in the last podcast, I messed up. We had to get this correction. 2 is life. In the last podcast, I said that 2 was death. And I was saying that in reference to 3 being life. But in reality, to actually get it completely properly correlated for us, 2 is life. Okay, so when Past Chase said 2 is death, that was because he was saying that death is what makes life matter. So really, when you know that life is dead without death, then that's the balance. Actually, death is life and life is death. But in reality, 1 is death, 2 is life, 3 is balance, 4 is death, 5 is life, 6 is balance, 7 is death, 8 is life, 9 is balance. And we experience life as 3. So that's the point. You as the mind experience life as balance. You're experiencing it as 2 plus 1. 2 is literal life. So you can see that everything in life is only possible because it's connected to what? The W. Okay, so the universe is what makes life possible. The universe is that 2 energy. That when you pay attention to the universe, you can build a simulation that you can then express yourself inside of. So all simulations, all situations exist inside the universe. Everything that we can experience is only possible because of our vibration, because of us being able to beat our heart first in a way that allows us to manipulate the physical reality that we're beating that heart in. And now we're able to create in greater ways. And this is the point of all of us being manipulative. Like, you literally cannot move if you don't manipulate yourself. If you don't coincide your own coincidence, if you don't create, if you don't combine your elements inside of your own space, if you don't coincide of your own coincidence, then you're not going to be able to manipulate yourself in a way that allows you to communicate yourself into any simulation. And now you won't be able to live any kind of life. You won't be able to connect with anyone. You won't be able to build a family. So the whole point of the W is to build your family. That is what 2 plus 3 is about. That's 5. So 5 is death. 6 is life. When you're looking at me talking about it in terms of like magic math or in terms of what the numbers mean, but in terms of being psychedelic, death is life. That's why psychedelics are actually life. That's why fasting is actually life. Fasting is psychedelic. Fasting taps you into being connected with yourself, which feels like death because you're separating from physical reality, but it's actually life because you realize that you're the one creating physical reality. You're the one who is creating the light that you are using to manipulate yourself into existence. Not the other way around. You were not created by light. Your mind was not created by your body. Or else it would make no sense at all that you can move your body and that you are in complete control of your body based on how you feel like sending electric nerve signals through your muscles. So your muscles are here to serve your mind. It's only that. The only reason that anyone thinks otherwise, the only reason that we're even confused on this is because white supremacy has forced us to learn that our minds are created by our muscles. And that's because they want to own our muscles. And by making us believe that our minds are created by our muscles, now once they own our muscles, they feel like they own our minds, which they functionally have for this amount of time until I, as Chase Clarence Calloway, am coming in here with my own mind. And then I agree to have my muscles colonized by the school system so that I can hyper communicate about how white supremacy has literally caused all these problems inside of my body. And I can solve them with my individual ideas because I came here purposefully. I was born purposefully. I am proof. Like, I'm just complete proof through everything that I've done in my life that the mind builds the body. The body does not build the mind. My ability to communicate is what all of my creations have come from. I haven't been making these costumes. I haven't been making art to build my mind. That doesn't make sense. Like, what? Like, which makes more sense? That the costumes, the Spider-Man costumes I've made, the Black Panther costumes I've made, all this art that I've made, all the pyramids that I've built, have they come out of my mind? Or has my mind come out of the pyramids? Has my mind been built by the Spider-Man costume? Has my mind been built by Dissect the Dialect? Like, which one is it? Did my mind build Dissect the Dialect? Or was my mind built by Dissect the Dialect? One makes sense and one doesn't. And the only reason you would be able to tell me that the Spider-Man costume, or that the Black Panther costume, or that Dissect the Dialect, or that me making this podcast is somehow building my mind and not the other way around, is because you're lost in that projection. Because to the universe, it's very clearly obvious that my mind is building this podcast. This podcast is not building my mind. Like, that's what's happening right now. My air is turning into earth so that I can make a structure that you can pay attention to. This is how I'm using my ability to communicate, which is only possible because I connected with myself to create a structure that you can pay attention to. This is how we as spirits literally create 5-cycle reality. This is how we create physical reality so that we can all have 6 together. Now we can all have sex. Now we can all do the number 6 because we did the number 5 after doing 4. So here I am. As an individual space, I become aware of my circumstances. So now I express my imagination. My imagination is only contained inside of my circumstances. So because my imagination is only contained inside of my circumstances, I can only see myself. And it takes me connecting with myself, realizing I'm alone in that, to then be able to use my mind to communicate in a way that allows me to get connected to spirits outside of myself. So that is what 23 is. That's the balance of air and water, and how the universe is a constant air and water cycle of connections and communications, because a spirit has to communicate that it feels like being connected, and then spirits have to be connected to even feel like communicating. So you can't communicate anything if you did not connect with yourself on it. This is the nature of knowing that you as God are always creating life. You had to create the circumstance where you could even be born into the situation that you're in, into the reality that you're in, to even be aware of things outside of yourself. Because that's what we're talking about here. Once you become aware that you're alone, now you use your ability to manipulate yourself to kill your own ego. That's why K is 11, because 11 is about creating one body of water from combining two ideas. So that's the double you, literally. Like one you is you as an individual. The other you is all of us. All of us as individuals outside of you. Because you are always going to be the constant of your experience. So all of us as spirits outside of you, we are all creating the universe. And if you want to connect with any spirit outside of yourself, you have to kill your own ego so you can get connected to the universe. And now, based on your soul, this is why the ego and the soul are different. You have to kill your ego so your soul can exist. So this is why you can't see my ego, but you can feel my soul through my words. You can feel my soul through my vibration. You can't see my ego. You'll never be able to see my ego. But you can see how my ego communicates through my soul. So that's the importance of knowing that your soul, your feeling, is what gives life meaning. And you're always communicating from your circumstance, from your individual perspective of what is meaningful to you. Because whatever is meaningful to you is going to be the meaning that you bring into the universe. And now you're being mean to people. Because you're always going to be mean to people about what means something to you. And then that's where I can appear mean, or I could like seem mean right now, even perhaps. The more I get into my fire based on how much this podcast means to me and how losing an hour and a half of all of that organic gold now makes me more mean. But that's the nature of the universe. So I've learned more of who I am, what matters to me, what life means to me. And then that fire, based on how I connect with myself, allows me to actually get out more ideas. This version of the podcast will very well have more ideas. Maybe not. I mean, that first one was very awesome, and I'm very angry about it. But if I get lost in that anger, then I'm not going to be actually able to create something new. I'm going to keep looking at the past and getting frustrated that I don't have the past. The past doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is me communicating with you right now about the wisdom of W. And why water and wisdom both start with W. And why is W literally double the U? We've already touched on these things, but we're going to get even deeper after this nice high vibrational carpet ride into the W, into the astral realm, into the World Wide Web that connects all simulations throughout the universe. We're going to marvel at how everything is connected as we simmer our trees, and then we will touch back down to dive deep into the wisdom of the double U.
Crying, I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My mind's been flying wild, my soul's been crying. I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C. My soul's been crying wild, my mind's been flying so high. Through the astral plane, macabre brain, I built your game, we're not the same. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying to relay a word. Those who listen heard, we make our vibe from deep inside. My soul's been crying while my mind's been flying back into my space, caught away with haste, so I'll fall with grace to thrill my chase. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Water my earth, I know my worth. My soul gives birth to all my work. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying. So I can't connect with those you neglect. Time to correct how we reflect. My mind's been flying while my soul's been crying too. Who flood the sea with energy from my inner chi. I'm free to be me. I felt to inspire you to say how to fly higher you forgot that you've got a spirit's run, and you're not true to this spot. Flip a script and break the facade. Take a trip and go abroad. When you're brave, they will apply. When you get touched with your true God. I've been fighting, I've been vibing. When I'm dancing with demons, reversing curses and scheming, they be fiending for reasons to change the sins like the seasons. So I've been falling, cause y'all been calling my mind out of my spirit. I feel it best when I'm near it, but y'all cry for help and I hear it. So Hermes flies out to stare it in a new healthy direction. Will grow through natural connection. So I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C to level up like it's nothing, to turn into something, to bust into function, bumping and pumping with all the wisdom I'm gushing. And when I simmer my trees, breathe in my leaves, balance my chi, triple my C, I fell to inspire you. Simmer higher, I simmer in the skies, I triple in my chi, then I open up my eyes. I balance in my seasons. I mother the cohesion that keeps us intertwined. Balance in my seasons, and I don't need a reason to fulfill my desires.
Welcome to our wonderful world wide web of wet water. All these W's, our wonderful world wide web of wet water. That's 6 W's to show us where we are. Literally, right now. That is Tahuti Trismegistus's, that is Trippy Trip C's Symmetry's answer to where we are right now. And really, anytime you're able to experience yourself, the simple answer to where you are is the wonderful world wide web of wet water. Absolutely. This is why all life is water-based. And of course, water cannot exist without air. So this is the nature of 23. As the W. So where are you? You are underwater. This is the wisdom of Anubis and Atlantis, and why Atlantis reigns supreme forever. And societies all around simulations will always have their own ideas about Atlantis. The point of Atlantis is that it is a mystery until I, as a representative of Atlantis, bring the wisdom, the darkness, to light, to knowledge. Now we can build no ledge upon the wisdom of me telling you, you hear it here first, Anubis himself is the creator of Atlantis. Like, there's no one else. Like, he does that himself. He is truly alone in that. All because he cares so much about facilitating connections throughout the universe. Because he wants everyone to be connected to themselves. The universe is not worth being connected to if it's not being created by spirits who aren't connecting with themselves. So then that's where he loves me, and we're twin flames, and we have our our super gushy bromance. Best bromance in the universe. Because he believes in me as Mercury. My whole thing is Mercury is staying separate from the universe so that I can observe how spirits are creating life and document and record things that allow us to do it more consciously. So boom, he and I, like, we're just destined. We've been at this, it's lit. We build simulations. I as Symmetry am the 4. I'm here building the structure, and then Anubis is the 2. He connects to the structure. He gets spirits connected to my structure. So you would not know about me if it weren't for Anubis. I'll tell you that right now. I would be too separate from the universe if it was not for water. Literally. So Anubis is my water. That's why he's my twin flame, because our imaginations line up perfectly with our intentions for life. So then the way that our vibrations mesh, me being the boy, him being the dog, just a boy and his dog building worlds forever and ever. Pretty lit. I can't imagine anything better, personally. So, if that's my limit as a spirit, so be it. The whole point is, we're bringing our unlimited natures into something limited because that's the only way we could ever make sense of each other, ever. Like, you wouldn't be able to make sense of this if you couldn't Google Anubis, Google Hermes, see all the stories about us, and then listen to me and understand how simple it is, yet how complex it is based on how long we've been doing it. But I'm just putting it in English right now. And then really it's simple based on what I just said, because no one has this perspective but me, and no one can break down all this stuff like this but me. And now that I've introduced it into the internet, we can build knowledge off of my wisdom. So true wisdom is knowing that you are alone, and knowledge is knowing that we make up life. We literally, everything is made up. That's why I really hate that phrase. I really don't like that phrase. I might have to start a series just about the phrases that Chase hates. Because I really do hate that phrase, you can't make this up. You can't make this ish up. Like, what? What do you mean you... Bro, everything's made up. What are you talking about? You can't... Like, I don't like that witchcraft, actually. Like, if I'm going to get really negative real quick, for you to tell me that you can't make this ish up is a limitation. Because I can definitely make that up. And I can make up way better things than that. And then really it makes me look at that in a more negative light. Because now I have to wonder, like, is it made up? Because I know everything is made up. But it's about, like, the truthful matter of it versus the lie matter. Like, are you making this up to manipulate me? Or are you making this up to express your authentic self? Like, because then, like, that's the point. Like, all of life is made up. Your body's made up. When people are, you can't make this up. Like, what do you mean you can't? Like, I made my body up. Why wouldn't I be able to make up this scenario that you're sharing with me? I write stories all the time. Like, what? We live life, like, all the time. We can make up stories in our head all the time. What? What do you mean you can't make this up? Chances are, whatever you're telling me that I can't make up, that thing is made up. And not chances are, that's my point. That's why I'm upset. That's why I hate the phrase. Because everything is made up. So when people are saying, like, you can't make this up, it always makes me wonder if they're trying to manipulate me to really believe in it. And then I'm like, if you really want me to believe in it, then is it a lie? And it just makes me question it more. And that's all of us as spirits. Like, this is naturally what happens. The more someone pushes you to believe something, the more you have to pull away. And that's just the nature of polarity. And then, I mean, whatever. Like, we could get into, like, game. Or just, like, the idea of attraction. Literally, attraction and polarity. And when you want to attract people, or you want to connect with people, the more you push into their space, the more they're going to pull away. Versus if you pull away, they'll push into your space. If you're supposed to connect. If you pull away and the other person doesn't push into your space, then that's a sign that you're supposed to be happy being alone.